Hello YouTube, this is the Java Programmer, and this is episode number 5. Today we are going to implement our event handling classes and program a real example of how this works. So in the last couple of videos we have set up the infrastructure, and I'm just going to bring up the diagram real quick to show you, remind everyone what we are looking at. So today we're going to create a event generator thread. We're going to have a queue, main queue. We're going to create a dispatcher, and then we're going to create a manager that takes in those events. And so we're going to have maybe 2 different events that we can show that get dispatched to the correct channels. And the code that we're going to write today is mostly going to be throwaway code, but we want to write this just to test all the code that we've written so far. So without saying too much more about this, let's actually write some code. So coming back to our main class here, the first thing that we need to do is we're going to have to create a couple objects that extend events. So we want some different type of events, and for organization's sake, I'm just going to put them here in our main package. So let's go ahead and create a couple event classes. So let's call it maybe event type 1. And this is going to extends event, and maybe it's going to have a string in here, private string name, and we'll go ahead and generate getters and setters for that. Eclipse is handy at generating these for you. Let's see, what is our error message? Add constructor. This seems, I'm trying to figure out why this, I included the wrong event. Let's try that again. This event is our event. There we go. So we have event type 1. Now let's create a new class called event type 2. And event type 2 extends event, except we're going to choose the right one this time. It's this event. And private string, let's go with description. Generate the getters and setters for our description field. There we go. So now we have 2 types of events. So we want to be able to send these events into the queue and then have it dispatched correctly. So the first thing is we need a queue class that can be used to operate this. And so let's create a link. You can look up the documentation on this type of queue. I tend to like it because it's a non-blocking queue. I mean, it is a blocking queue, so that way it doesn't have the issues with having to do a busy wait when you're trying to pull things off of the queue. So a linked blocking DQ of events. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a event producer. So I remember all these classes we're simply going to throw away when we're done, but this is just to test our setup, make sure everything's working right. So an event producer is going to be a thread, and it doesn't even exist yet. So we're going to create an event producer, pass it in the queue, and we're going to tell it to start. So we need to actually create this class because it doesn't exist. So create class event producer. So event producer extends thread. We're still going to have an error message over here. We're going to have to, let's see, create constructor. There we go. So need to have a private event queue. So this dot event queue equals event queue. And then we need a public void run. So when the thread starts, this is what's going to happen. So basically, forever, we are going to create, we're going to say event type 1, e1 equals new event type 1, e1 dot set name. This is let's create a counter so we can see this thing count up. So int counter equals 0. Name counter plus plus. And now what we want to do is we want to add this to our queue. Add E1. So all this class does is produce these event type 1s and spit them into the queue as fast as it can. So we probably should slow it down, maybe only put in 10 per second. Good old Java handling our exception handling for us. So this code's going to fire it into the queue. So let's look at what we have here. We've got an event queue. We've got an event producer. And then when we start the producer, basically that producer is just going to put these events into that queue as fast as possible. Well, not as fast as possible, but 10 per second. So if we don't do something, this queue is just going to fill up and we're going to run out of memory. So we need to create a event router. And this is a class we wrote last time. So EventRouter, router equals new EventRouter. And what's this class going to do? So in this thread, we're going to say while true, we're going to call router dot dispatch an event. But we have an event queue, and we're going to take the first element off the queue, and we're going to dispatch it to our event router. And this got to catch the exception here. So let's look at the event router and see what happens when we call dispatch. So if there's no registered channels, if we don't call the registered channel, then the dispatch is going to try to look up the handler for that type of event, and then on that channel it's going to call dispatch. But if there is none, these events just go nowhere. So we have to, we have to actually add something that's going to listen. We have to add a channel that's going to listen to these events. So let's do that now. So if we say router dot register channel, content type is going to be our event type 1 dot class, and the channel is going to be a new event type 1 channel. I know that class doesn't exist, but we're going to create it. So let's also do this for event type 2, and we'll have a channel 2 handler, and we'll need another event. Let's do this. Let's have our producer actually produce both types of events. So event producer, we add E1. Let's go ahead and create a event type 2. And event type 2 should not have, right, it doesn't have a name, it has a description. Description. So basically this is going to add 2 types of events every 10th of a second, which should give us 20 per second. Now, what is an event type 1 channel? Well, let's create that class and we'll see what it looks like. So I ran into this error and I was not paying attention to the time, and the time of this video got away from me. So I'm going to have to end this video here, and I'll pick it up next time at the very same spot. So thanks for watching. This is the Java Programmer.